Welcome everyone to the first ever Worlds Swiss stage, live from the KBS Arena in Seoul. Can you already see us?
Look where we are.
Korea. And today we're gonna kick off all the action with 8 best of ones. That's a lot.
Yeah.
All 16 teams. I'm Shox here on the desk with Kobe and with Jat to kick us off. Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
We've got a good spot.
Yeah.
This is the best spot.
Best spot in the house.
It's like the top
yeah.
level.
We have the full
We have
field of
3
view.
screens.
For 16 teams, 8 games. It's good. We need a good position. Yeah.
Better strap in, because
Yes.
it's going to be a long night.
We will. But the tournament, of course, you want to say hi? Who are
Yeah,
you
I
saying
just
hi
wanted to figure out where
There's
we're
someone with a
going.
FLICKR sign there. They've been
I
here
didn't
for
even know
a
we had
long
a
time.
camera up there.
We do?
This is great.
Great. Anyways, let's get into it. This is the start of the Swiss stage. We already saw the play-ins, though, and it was in the end Team BDS and Gam from the VCS that ended up making it, Kobe.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Gam had a little bit of a sketchy run at the beginning, and then having to go through Team Wales that were the team that originally beat BDS, who also had a bit of a rocky start.
Reverse sweep.
But reverse sweeping, coming back through, Adam on his God's Champions kind of became this overarching story that is combined with the world song and really given life to some of this BDS lore.
Yeah, I think it was a really cool run to see from them. 4th seed, of course, coming out of the LEC. And I want to say growing, especially throughout that last series where it looked like they were counted out,
Yeah,
but they weren't.
it actually feels a little scripted when he is 7-0 on the Gods Champions when the Gods theme is for Worlds.
Does it? Have we?
Seems very
Let me
fake.
remember. What do I remember? Phoenix.
I have to say, they're laying it on a little thick with
They are.
gods.
Yeah,
Gods.
it's a little much.
I do want to give a shout out, in between the gods anthem to Lebrov as well,
Yeah.
because I really think
Yeah.
he deserves a lot of credit.
Agreed.
It's so much work setting up all of the members of BDS, keeping Crownie safe. Really, really good effort from him.
And some special action as well in terms of the pentakills.
Yes,
What's,
the pentakills was the best part of play-ins. I picked 3+ for my pick'ems, and I'm already packing those points. Those are safe in the bank. It was so exciting. We're getting this Kai'Sa Xayah meta, and a huge priority, especially on the Kai'Sa part of it. And it's just been really exciting to see. Now, a lot of people I know for pick'ems, because of last year only being 2 pentakills, only picked 1 or 2, and
That's
so
dumb.
they're probably whoa. I was gonna say sad for them, but fair enough. This year, is already surpassing that. So I'm very excited to see what the Swiss stage can bring, because now we've got so many, especially amazing AD carries, which are the most likely to rack up these pentakills, entering the arena.
I think we're in for some longer games as well as we move through the Swiss stage.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hoping
Did you pick 45 plus?
I picked the 45 to 50 because
okay.
there's a 50+ option, I believe, as well. But I feel pretty good about that one. And then most banned, Orianna, I think, is going to stay that way because generally speaking, it's the best mid laners that are the best at Orianna. And if it's already the most banned, I think it's going to stay that way.
I was talking to some of the mid laners, and they feel like, as powerful as Orianna is, some of them are already starting to prefer the dash that Azir has. And you can never get away from Azir in some of these cases. But I definitely agree. Orianna, Syndra, there's so many good mages right now in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a good reason why I think BDS also was successful in making it for the mid lane. But in any case, for your crystal ball picks, they are already locked, so you can't change that, unfortunately. For your pick'ems, though, you do have time until the end of this pre-show, so like 10 minutes from now. So if you want to add or change your Swiss stage pick'ems powered by AWS, you have a little bit of time left. Speaking of the Swiss stage, though, it is the first time that we have had this, so I think we need to explain it again, Jack.
Yeah, so there was a 4-group system from 2014 until last year. The things that stay the same is there's 16 teams fighting for 8 spots, but the way they get there is completely different. For those of you who haven't seen, today we literally have every team playing a best of 1. The winners will then play the winners, and the losers will play the losers tomorrow. There's a draw show at the end of the day. As for the rest of this noise that looks very confusing, the simplest way I can explain it is if you beat 3 different teams, you advance. If you lose to 3 different teams, you are eliminated. And any advance or elimination game will be a best of 3, which does make, to me, these first 2 days possibly the 2 craziest days we have ever had at a World Championship.
And those are my favorite parts of a Swiss stage bracket, because Swiss stage, it basically starts and it includes its own seeding process. That's what these first games are. You're choosing your opponents for the real meaningful knockout games. And any game where you either get eliminated or promoted is going to be a best of 3. So you are going to have that, more of the control in your hands.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, though, because it is a very exciting format to have, especially those first 2 days. And it's also really crazy if you are the teams playing, of course, because you definitely don't want to drop the ball in this first game if you're a favorite.
It creates uncertainty. When I was talking to all the NA teams, I'm like, really make sure you sleep, because I know you want to grind, but you literally just have to be good for these 2 days, and you put yourself in such a powerful position, because there's also the disaster situation. Let's say you lose the first round, then you end up playing the loser of KT versus BLG, and then suddenly you're in an elimination game, and you'd have to win 3 best of 3s in a row to advance. So it is very exciting.
It's pretty crazy.
A little nerve-wracking, but
very nerve-wracking,
yeah,
I would say.
this is better for NA than last year. You're not in a cage match with KR and China. Some randomness could happen.
Yeah.
Are you saying we're going to get filtered to the bottom, or we're
either
we're
way,
going to be at the top? We're going to be in the 1-0 bracket? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see indeed. Before we get to the match intro for our first game, can I get some excitement, a barometer about the fact that we're going to see the best teams in the world take to the stage in best of 1s and best of 3s and in best of 5s, possibly. That's the hope, of course, for some of the EU and NA teams. But overall, the storylines are so abundant.
I mean, I just love the part where we aren't going to have a lot of dead games where teams have already been eliminated or it doesn't mean anything.
It's true.
Because Swiss stage is self-filtering, every game is going to have so much more weight to it.
Exactly. If you lose the first 4 games, you're eliminated. You would basically be eliminated in the old format, but then they still make you play 2 more games.
Yeah.
So it's way nice. It's humanitarian efforts going on here. It's really nice.
I love that. Can I get a couple of, we don't even have to say it, some favorites going into this tournament? I mean, the Golden Road is looming for JDG, but that can be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, energy as well. Like, we don't really have to say it.
So, legitimately, though, I think JDG has a better chance of completing the Golden Road than RNG did in 2018, because I feel like the meta hasn't changed to a point where their ability to be basically a perfect team with 2 amazing laners in Knight and Ruler and an amazing weak side top laner in 369, unless they don't perform to the level they have this entire Worlds, I think they're the favorites.
Yeah, I just think that team is built to play the game the way that the designers built the game to be played right now.
This year, exactly.
Which is around team fighting, around these objectives. And with 369 being the greatest tank player in the world, supported by 2 of the best carries in the world, it's a very, very strong setup, you can
There
say.
is a possibility, but Worlds is crazy. We don't have to all have to remember just last year. It's about percentages here at Worlds. And let's start with some of those in T1 versus Team Liquid, which is our very first matchup of the Swiss stage. Let's start with the story of T1, perhaps. For people that are not familiar, they had a rocky road this year.
They really did. I think their continued inability to close the deal in the LCK finals or at international tournaments weighed on them a little bit. They had a very shaky summer, 9-9, with FLICKR missing 4 of those weeks with a wrist injury. But it is still T1. It is still the number 2 seed from the LCK. And in terms of gameplay, they did have the highest first Herald percentage in the LCK playoffs. So they are an early game team.
Yeah, I think the most perplexing part about this team is the absolute collapse when FLICKR had his wrist injuries and had to take some time off. Keria is making so many mistakes. Oner is making so many mistakes. Zeus was trying his hardest to carry some of these games, and Guma as well, but T1 had an absolute collapse without him. The good news is FLICKR is fully back, and since he rejoined the team, they looked a lot better in playoffs. I will say that since they had limited time, it did seem like they were limited on champion pool, and FLICKR pretty much just with the Azir and the Nico finding success and getting countered on some of the other stuff. So they have had a lot of time since then as well, since we have had such a long time between all of the leagues ending and World starting to be able to rebuild everything.
Yeah, and I've been memeing a little bit. The last 2 times Worlds was in Korea was in 2014 and 2018. FLICKR wasn't actually at those Worlds.
No.
So FLICKR has never won a Worlds game in Korea. But I will say, when he's played LCS teams in his Worlds history, he is 12-0. And overall, in the Worlds group stage, which is kind of what Swiss is here, 38-6 is an absolutely godlike record, never losing more than one game in the entire group stage in any of his Worlds appearances.
That is insanity.
You could say they're slight favorites.
You might say that. Also, 12 wins, 0 losses versus LCS for Taker.
Yeah.
But has he ever played against APA?
You know what?
Only in Champions
Champions
Queue.
Queue.
And
That's it.
let me tell you, APA has a winning Champions Queue record versus FLICKR.
Oh.
There are a couple of other positives for Team Liquid. They are currently fielding 2 players that have beaten T1 in Worlds Finals. Of course, Pyosik last year, but also CoreJJ. So honestly, Team Liquid have been stacking their roster specifically to attack or to give T1 the chance to get some 2-1 revenge.
Yeah, a quick rundown of Team Liquid's year as well. It wasn't a very dominant year for them. They had very strong early games, very weak late games actually. So the number 3 seed, they were 10-8 in the LCS Summer Split. But as you mentioned, they do have the defending world champion technically with Pyosik in the jungler. CoreJJ also making his 7th Worlds appearance, beating FLICKR for that World Championship back in 2017, and APA joining halfway through the Summer Split to the starting roster.
Also an interesting story.
And if people didn't really watch APA and didn't watch LCS, he had a very specific champion pool, which is one of the special things about him, playing a lot of Ziggs mid, a lot of Cassiopeia mid. Didn't have a very good time on the Jayce. And so there are some restrictions, plus the fact that it's a language barrier that they've built into the team with English combating with Korean, basically. So we'll see about how it plays off. I think it's really important, these synergies that we've seen between like him and Pyosik, though, and the bonding that this team has had outside of the game.
And how do you feel about the match?
Speaking of Pyosik, I think he put it best. Pyosik in his recent interview had an amazing quote saying that God has abandoned us, but we will enjoy it.
I love it. They're fully playing into it.
Fully embracing it. They knew who they're going up against.
I think that's a good way to approach it. But you said it already. Maybe they have a, special. You have 2 players that have had the pleasure of beating FLICKR before in those important matches. So they're playing the long con. That's why this roster was put together.
Yeah, listen, I was talking with Atlas earlier, who's very familiar with T1's game. I am very familiar with TL's game.
Yeah.
I was putting it at 90-10, but let's talk about the 10.
Okay.
Let's talk about the. I mean,
Where is the 10?
Legitimately, it's T1 versus the number 3 seed from North America. But Summon and Pyosik, very explosive early game junglers, and their weakness has actually been mid and late game. But if you actually, like, of the teams at Worlds from North America, TL might have the best laning phase. So if T1 has a slow start and Team Liquid is able to play without pressure, the way they would win would be an explosive early game. Summit really trying to dominate lane, Pyosik getting a lot of early ganks off, and then they are able to snowball that. But if they don't get, to me, if they don't get extremely far ahead, it's not good.
It's a classic tale, I think.
I think it's also very important to get a good champion select, especially for APA. He is such a momentum type of player, really builds off of early leads. He likes to all chat a lot. He likes to, really get in there. So
I did ask him if he was going to all chat FLICKR, and he doesn't know what to say. He says you can't do it to FLICKR. He just...
No, you have to. Come on.
Broke him. I don't know what he would say, but he said he wasn't going to do it. Anyway, for those of you who aren't familiar with APA's game, as Kobe mentioned, he has historically been a dominant solo queue player, extremely good in team fights, not amazing in lane. But Ziggs is really his signature pick, and I'm actually very curious what level of disrespect or looking past T1 would actually have for Team Liquid because of FLICKR's history of always beating NA teams, 12-0. So if there's a time that you would give Ziggs over to him, it would be when T1 is looking past them. Because when T1 approaches the Swiss stage, they're thinking about what they're going to do against JDG, what they're going to do against Genji, BLG. I think Team Liquid's down here in terms of what their preparation.
So they're not
going
to see him coming.
Like, where are they?
But legitimately. Oh yeah, this guy plays Ziggs. Sure, nobody plays Ziggs. It's not good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? That could
happen. So
happen.
you're saying Ziggs is the win condition?
It will be proven or disproven 5 seconds into champion select because it should just be the first ban for T1. But if it's not, watch out.
APA's also been practicing meta, a bunch of Orianna games in solo queue and everything.
Yeah.
So.
I think, but we need to see. I want him to play his trump card. I want him to do it in the first game because you got to throw everything in, as you say, because this best of one win could be so valuable going forward.
Exactly. And a quick note, every 1-0 team will play every 1-0 team tomorrow, and every 0-1 team will play that. There's a draw at the end of the day. to see what happens, and I really hope that we get some excitement today.
I do, and I'm actually completely sure that we will. It's going to be amazing, and history is being made today as we're kicking off the first ever Swiss stage at a League of Legends World Championship. It's time for T1 versus Team Liquid.
붉게 물드는 가을빛과 함께 서울이 서서히 깨어납니다. 꿈꾸는 이들, 그들의 하루가 시작됩니다.
Last time Fnatic was in Korea, they made it to finals. I'm here to continue their legacy.
사실 저번에 우승했을 때 한국에서 이제 월드를 하게 되는데
Các bạn sẽ thấy chúng tôi tận hưởng nó từ đầu đến cuối. This format looks chaotic, but for me, it's never been a downside.
이번에 NA의 새로운 모습을 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
Something inside of me was telling me, you will go back towards one day.
It took me a year and a half to learn this role, but now I finally got it. Korea is my last chance.
옛날의 초비는 긴장했지만 지금은 그럴 때가 지났다고 생각합니다. 새로운 세대의 시작입니다.
I've always dreamt of winning the World's Trophy. There was just a lot of disappointment.
일단 작년에 제가 월드 챔피언십에 진출하지 못해가지고 되게 안타까웠는데
Big mistake there from Ben of Suning are falling apart.
在过去的2年中，我也有很多遗憾吧。
过去的已经过去了，更重要的是现在的挑战。
We've always been the underdogs. We've always been doubted. But look who's here.
절대로 포기하지 않고 앞으로 나아가겠습니다.
한 사람이 짊어지기엔 너무나도 큰 짐이지만 잊지 말아야 합니다. 그들은 한 팀입니다. 골든 로드, 스프링, MSI, 서머, 그리고 월즈 우승을 한 팀에게 주어지는 영광입니다. 그 어떤 팀도 아직 달성하지 못했습니다. 진동, 그들이 도전합니다.
새로운 동료들과 다시 한번 트로피를 들어보겠습니다.
아무도 보지 못한 스테이지. 더 이상 실수할 여지가 없습니다. 모든 시합이 중요합니다. 더 그라인드, 더 글로리.
골든로드 저희가 맡겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the world's Swiss stage. I'm Atlas, I'm joined by Chronicler here for the first 4 games of Swiss for Worlds. And we'd like to extend a big LCK welcome. Because of course, this is the first time LCK commentators have been on at Worlds, and this is our home territory, Chronicler. We're defending champions this time around. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Ever since I joined the LCK, we've not been doing a whole lot of winning. So yeah. I was very happy with 2022, and we'll see if it's the same this year, Atlas.
We'll see whether it's going to be this team as well that can retain some glory. T1 making their way out, thanks to caster Sung K for introducing them as well. FLICKR with his first Worlds in his home country. Chronicler?
And T1 have had their ups and downs. A lot of other teams will be happy losing in finals, but if it happens again and again at some point, not going to be feeling too good about it. FLICKR, of course, not with the team for a little bit, but when it comes to Worlds, T1 seemingly always delivers. And the fact that they made it to the LCK finals in the first place was, I think, a really big surprise to many of us.
Yeah, beating the entirety of the LCK All-Pro for summer. That's how they made it here, taking down KT. They were then swiftly dispatched by Gen G, but we don't like to think about that if we want to big up T1 moving into this matchup. But on the other side, we've decided to prepare at least 2 players with some experience in taking down this team. It's Team Liquid.
And Team Liquid going through some changes themselves this year. Their spring, we're not going to mention because it wasn't great, but with APA coming in and the rest of the team seemingly meshing together, I'm very happy to see Summit back in particular.
Oh yeah.
I was a big Sandbox fan, where he of course was a pivotal part. But as you mentioned, Pyosik and Core, 2 players that have bested, and the fact that Pyosik is a world champion to me still feels surreal.
Yeah,
I can't quite comprehend, because he's such a lovely guy, but the fact that he actually won it is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I like that you had to put he's such a lovely guy in front of that, because I think we're all still a bit gobsmacked by what happened in 2022. But this is the time once again, Chronicler. This is where the magic all happens. It's Worlds. We're here in the Swiss stage, and we're ready to get into our very first game of the day. The desk summed it up beautifully, just letting you guys know exactly how this new format works. There is a video. I'm pretty sure it's got a guy with a weird accent that does the voiceover for it.
It's okay.
But basically all you need to know is exactly what Jad said. Beat a different team 3 times. That's all you need to do. And then you're out. And then you're fine.
It's very straightforward. It also means, and this is something that I'm particularly excited for, every single match matters, particularly in week 2 with the group stage. We had a lot of matches where it kind of felt like a foregone conclusion at the beginning. No longer. Every single match that you play matters, and we have seen volatility in best of ones, and I think the TL is going to be try and make the most out of that. But as the desk also mentioned, the record for T1, even though this isn't the group stage anymore, it's Swiss, still, they've been a paragon of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, the maximum games that they've lost is 1 in the group stage.
Yeah.
That 1 hasn't happened yet. That 1 could be Team Liquid right here. You never know. However, it is definitely a tough ask. And the biggest issue here is because we've heard already, you know, FLICKR went through, you know, his injury with his wrist. Things are a problem. Came back into the team and was instantly the deciding factor, the game changer, the thing that made all of the difference. And now he's had a bunch of weeks to really recover. And so I have a feeling that T1 are going to look even more revitalized moving into Worlds. And speaking of moving into things, we are into the pick and ban here for game number 1. Let's get this underway. And Zig's already banned. I can hear Orc somewhere shrieking. He's just despising this whole situation. Zig should never be banned.
And what I think is this is a great sign, because what the desk was talking about as well, how much is T1 going to respect TL? Because APA on his champions has looked great domestically. Yeah. He is known for an eclectic champion pool, and coming in to this series, it was kind of the question, is T1 going to respect that? Thus far, the answer very clearly yes. With the Ziggs and the Nico already being taken away. Caitlyn is not something we saw a lot of. It was played, I think, once in play-ins and wasn't very successful there, but it's Gumayusi, and he is a big fan of the champion. And the second thing that I want to look for in this draft, generally between play-ins and the group stage, or in this case the Swiss stage, we see a really big switch up in the priority of champions. And I'm wondering if we're going to see any of that here, if we're looking at maybe an Orianna that made it through the draft this time around, if we're going to see the Rell priority, but no!
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
only B1.
It's got to be the Orianna, right? There's a
FLICKR.
certain play that, you know, I think people retroactively have now given to Wolf, but
sure.
I mean, that shockwave was pretty incredible against EDG. FLICKR hasn't played a lot of it this season, but of course, Orianna is like most mid laners just have an Orianna, right? And FLICKR's is one of the best in the world. Speaking of orbs, though, the Syndra is going to be locked away here as well for APA. And Pyosik, oh my, he's hovering the heck room. This is, of course, what gave T1 nightmares. He's beginning at least the emotional warfare, Chronicler.
And I really appreciate the Lee lock-in. I think that the Lee Syndra combination obviously has a lot of power in the 2v2. And I agree with the desk as well. I think T1 or TL rather needs to try and go as hard in on early game as you can. Because when you get to late, things might become a little bit dire. And it also picks it away from Oner. Oner has, I think, been the consistent weak point for T1 in summer as the Ashe is locked in here. Now, there are, of course, some possibilities for that to be a flex. With the Renata locked in, we will, in fact, be certain of where this is going. And it's going to be Renata and Ashe. And the Renata is not something that was high in priority.
No, we have seen a little bit of it, but the thing is, Renata is often used as an answer pick, not a blind pick.
Yeah.
It is something that Keria has been absolutely fantastic on throughout his career, but not recently, and definitely not in this situation, as there is Aphelios locked in for Yeon, and I'm not a huge Aphelios fan at this particular point in time, but we'll see what they have planned for this Ashe Renata lane, which is extraordinarily face-up.
Yeah, I wonder if T1 is going to try and look to ban away some other enchanters, because the point of the Ashe Renata lane is to just bully, right? You want to try and play as aggressive as possible. Depending on the build, we can see Ashe do some decent damage, but you will always be threatened. I think the Syndra in that way definitely is something that they're going to have to take into account. As the J4 is banned away, J4 Orianna, classic combo, has been around for the longest time, and J4 in general is in a really good spot right now. T1 though not looking towards the bot lane, seemingly happy with the dominance of that Ashe and Renata. Instead, banning away some picks here, which is it's looking like it might just be a blind Renekton here for Zeus.
Well, we'll see whether he is going to be able to get his hands on it. Of course, it will be Summit that has the first option. Speaking of Summit champions, two of them have been taken away, the prehistoric Yordle and the electric one. See whether it is going to be more Summit tax that's going to get paid. Things like the Aatrox are coming to mind, but there is the Blitzcrank taken away, protecting that bottom lane just a little bit. And I do think that there is a Crocodile in our future. It's what I'm kind of feeling here. Cassante, of course, still up and available as well, and did see a lot of priority, but instead, looks like CoreJJ thinking about a favorite here, as Taric as well. Taric a little bit of a sleeper at this point in time, but right now Core is still considering his options.
Yeah, shouldn't come as a surprise. Rell, though, going to be the lock-in the end. Rell, obviously, I think one of the strongest picks of the tournament thus far. Incredible.
A flex pick as well. You just put Lee Sin top lane.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring it up.
I mean, it's in my pick'ems, man. I need Lee Sin to be played all over the place.
We'll see whether that will come to fruition. It is looking like a blind pick here. The Sejuani, I'm sure will pair with whatever Zeus is picking, but outside of that, not really the greatest when you look at the rest of the comp of T1. Not a lot of ways to activate that. You don't have a melee mid or melee support to try and play with this.
Jax.
It's looking like Jax or Renekton. Yeah. Cassante could also be an option, but I do think that with Ashe in particular, Cassante maybe doesn't quite have the pressure, and you would be leaning a lot more on just the Orianna for late game damage, as that's one of his champions.
But like, this is the problem. We see this all the time, and it's the Sejuani without any permafrost friends. And I don't know. It bothers me quite a lot. Of course, you can go into hammer form as Jayce to try and help out. Half of Jayce, exactly. So Oner has half a help with his passive and getting that one stacked up. But of course, Sejuani is just good in general. There is a Cassante on the R5 for Summit. I can see a smirk there, a wry smile on his face as he manages to get probably the most successful top lane champion of the play-ins, at least. We've seen on this patch here at Worlds. So I do like what TL have put together, but T1, I mean, this is the most slow and steady T1 composition. Like, we're gonna team fight you and we have all of the engage in the universe and we can follow up with everything and the kitchen sink. But I don't know whether they're necessarily answering TL, at least in this draft, in the early game.
Yeah, I think that for T1, playing around that bot side is going to be really important. And in that light, I think a Renekton would have made a lot of sense because you can leave him alone on an island and be fine. However, the Jayce might be drawing some attention. Obviously, the 2v2 with your Lee Sin is going to be good in both mid and top. And as mentioned, the Sejuani, I don't know how good you're going to feel about that unless you're playing through Zeus, but with the pressure that Gumayusi and Keria are expected to have, I think T1 is going to try and leverage that to set up early objectives, and it is really hard to engage into the T1 comp, and I do think that there is a lack of range on Liquid. The Renata in particular actually working out really well there, but if you can catch the T1 comp off guard, right, particularly with something like the Jayce, can definitely be a big problem. And I do think TL have a very well-rounded comp. That said, if they're not able to make anything happen around that mid-jungle or mid-top, or a top jungle rather, I'd still be worried for them.
I feel like there's going to have to be a lot resting on Summit's shoulders this time around as well. But it is time. Let's get into our very first game of the Swiss stage here at Worlds 2023. T1 taking on TL. Their acronyms so very similar. We'll see whether the gameplay is going to be on a similar level as we get into it. Any expectations for level 1, Chronicler?
With these, you could try. I think that Ashe can be really punishing, right, if you're able. But if this was like a Braum instead of a Renata, you know, you're going ham.
It's Keria's Braum. I don't want you to say that ever again.
Hey, Keria's Braum, when he's not engaging, is great. When he is engaging, it's not necessarily the greatest. But no, I do think that the first action we're going to see more so towards the Dragons, the Heralds, and again, particularly for TL, I want to see how well Pyosik and APA are able to try and play. And how are they going to relieve pressure? Because with this Ashe Keria, or rather Ashe Renata lane, my expectation is that T1 is looking to start bullying very early on and never really relents. And we have seen that T1, this goes back to spring, but that was the style that they were extremely dominant in and allowed them to snowball games in a very unfun experience for their opponents.
But now the Ashe player has changed.
Very true.
In this lane, as of course, Keria moving over to the Renata this time around. Ashe not necessarily a sport as much as she used to be, as logistics program is being read out to Yeon, and he didn't like it at all. Not into it.
No, not an enjoyer of the program. Did go fleet footwork, so we'll be able to sustain up a little bit, but do have to be ready for the amount of pressure that's going to come out from this lane early on. And especially when you're playing engage support. Renata is a bit of a, middle of the pack because she's an enchanter, but also really good in terms of counter engage, is that you want to really respect the level 1 so that you actually have a window to go in. And if your health bar is already too low, then that's not really going to be the case. Case in point.
Yeah, there's a bit of a handshake there from Keria, is going to get cleansed. So gets a cleanse on a level 1 Aphelios. Things not necessarily going TL's way here at this stage, but as you already illustrated, this is to be expected in that lane. Zeus is going to go to the skies, and Summit is going to look to try and fight back here, but Conqueror procced, and the Jayce is having just a great time.
Oh, and Oner actually changing his
another one
pathing.
comes through, and now the flash! Keria is just throwing out abilities and getting summoner spells.
Do note though, Pyosik starting on the top side of the map. We're going to have opposite sides here, as there might be a dive onto Summit, but Guma and Keria, are they going to be okay with Pyosik moving in?
Yeah, Summit trying to deal with this minion wave, but it is just too big. They do manage to get a teleport out. Can they kill him in time? That is going to be the 1-for-1, as now the stun comes in. It's a 2-for-1, and TL trade up. Now Pyosik making his move towards the bottom side. The Q's going to land. Gumayusi's in so much trouble, and CoreJJ just said, I take down this team. It's my job, man.
And TL coming up huge early. Yes, Yeon and Core get pushed in, but it seems like T1 wasn't ready for the gank coming in from Pyosik straight from his red buff down to the bot side. And then here, I think Oner just a little bit slow. It actually gives plenty of time for Summits to level up, regain some health, and then level 3 this early on. You just can't tank the turret. And if that's a 1-for-1 trade, maybe you take it, but now it's a big win, and then here as well.
Oh, the flash. That's very unfortunate there for Gumayusi. Getting caught in the CC regardless. CoreJJ just crashing down on him, and we're starting off with a 3-1 in favor of TL. And I want to go back to a conversation that I had with Jat. He referred to this earlier on. And we were having the chat, and I was telling him, like, if the game goes, TL gets an early lead, and then T1 stabilizes in the mid game and wins, do you think that that's an expected outcome? And he was like, yes. But the other option is TL just keeps up the pressure. They just keep going, and then they win. Or they, you know, there could be a throw situation or something like that. Zeus is fighting against Summit here towards his top side. Still, Summit not having the greatest of times up here, but Oner, I mean, he's got a pretty nice tent up here, as it turns out.
He does. And we'll see if this dive tent is better. Pyosik will get spotted, so I think that should be enough reason to maybe call it off. But I think the goal for T1 here is just to deny as much CS and experience as possible. Maybe pick up a plate as well, and they will be able to do that. But with Pyosik having to top side, dive not going to be repeated here. And yeah, T1 clearly came into this game trying to play as lane dominant as possible. And I think TL's response thus far, not too bad, but when you look at the CS, even with the play towards bot side, you do see that the dues are still being paid, and that this Ashe Renata lane is still really oppressive to play into, because Yeon is still very far behind in CS, and when we look at the actual gold, it's been equalized.
Yeah, it certainly has. In this mid lane, APA has been playing fantastically. Of course, didn't play a whole lot this year for TL. And there's a shockwave. As I say it, he takes a whole bunch of damage, so perhaps the caster curses could just stop. And Pyosik looking for an opportunity here onto the Sejuani. He's going to be spotted there on the control ward, and Oner just says, no thank you, not again. Gumayusi is going to find some frost shots onto CoreJJ, gets the crash down, but Pyosik is still just trying to run away from Oner. Doesn't get the Arctic Assault over the wall. FLICKR was coming down. Not going to be able to find him. So far, relatively smooth sailing here for TL, but we haven't seen any more of those aggressive plays that T1 tried to pull off in the early stages, and I think that we're probably just going to see some cool, calm, and collected gameplay, try and get these lanes worked out, and then set up for some of these objectives.
And I think that's the biggest difference. Even with the early gang or the early kills going the way of TL, we already have 2 plates down in top, 1 plate down in bot as well. So T1 are able to still trade pretty decently in terms of gold. Pyosik also, the constant attention that he has had to pay to his lanes has been working out, right? Forwarded the gank on top side, forwarded the gank just now on bot. Because I think that Oner might have otherwise had an angle with the complete vision denial, but it also has meant that he hasn't really been able to have the early impact, and with Lee specifically, particularly against something like a Sejuani, you're really trying to be on the front foot. You're trying to be proactive. Once you're playing reactive into Sejuani, it's not the end of the world. We have seen Lee's be able to still have a big impact when we get to the later stages of the game, but it does mean that TL, playing mostly responsive, are still going to suffer when it comes to these plates and to the CS.
Yeah, and here on the bottom side of the map, you were talking about plates going down on the top side. Minions just being denied here. The Ashe Renata, of course, pretty good at it. But Gumayusi Keria, oppressive early games, kind of their bread and butter. And it looks to be going just fine here at this point. Summit, good ward, should be able to spot out Oner as he moves on in, and there it goes.
Maybe a 2v2.
Ward down, but this could be some Summit baiting here towards his top side as Pyosik is making his way in. The back is going to come through, and now Pyosik's going to know that he'll have an opportunity. Full vision in this area as Zeus is going to move his way down. Feels a little bit frightened as to what could be the possibilities. Pyosik paying some attention. No Shock Blast going to make its way into the Tri-Brush just yet. Zeus does turn back up again. On vision.
Summon us ult.
There it is, and now Pyosik is coming down. There, the all-out comes through. The Q's going to land, and Zeus, he knows that he's dead. The Q's going to land beforehand, and Pyosik gets another.
Really nice setup there. The early wards from Summit showcasing where Oner is. And Summit with the Cassante has the capability to drag Zeus back. Set him up for Pyosik. Much needed kill. TL, I think, needs to make this game as fast as possible needs to try and throw T1 off. They are now on vision, starting up this objective. Core and Yeon are already here, but with the wave that's being built up on bot side, I wouldn't be surprised if T1 just goes for the blades. Arrow coming in.
Yeah, Oner is going to get blocked out, so Pyosik is going to be able to take this one. The arrow's going to connect, but Yeon is going to be able to cleanse that one away. Oner's still looking for more. As the shockwave lands, Pyosik is going to try and safeguard his way out for the hostile takeover. Will cancel that, and FLICKR will grab his first of the game. TL trading the Rift Herald for just a kill. You're probably all right with it.
Alternative, Summit also went and caught that bot wave. Now they are continuing to play. APA does have teleports.
Yeah, 4 versus 3 potentially. No more shockwaves, so they don't have to worry about that orb quite as much. So APA will be able to keep his friends alive for now. Very nicely done, and I'm starting to feel like, you know, TL doing okay. I was a bit worried about that that Herald play, absolutely. But right now, the goal very, very even.
And we'll see where they place down the Herald. Haven't really been able to do a whole lot of damage to turrets outside of a plate in mid. APA, at least in the laning phase, doing a good job here. And if they can actually use that to maybe set up a dive right towards that mid lane and go from there, could be big. As we take another look at this, I really like the setup for this play. Zeus went to pick up some fruits, comes back, and is delivered into the waiting arms of Pyosik. And this is basically a zero-risk play for TL because they knew where Oner had been. And then here, you know, you end up giving up a kill, but I do agree with you. I think you take that any time. The value that Herald provides is going to be very nice. And with the mobility and a core standing guard, even though they do have to invest 2 flashes, giving up 1 kill, not the end of the world. The flashes, though, if we do have another fight coming up soon, that might be a problem.
We'll see when that fight is going to occur. Currently, no dragons have been secured. Of course, there's only 1 dragon at this point in time. However, has not been looked at just yet.
Yeah.
CoreJJ looking for this top side of the map as Oner is in position. Bit of a lane swap has come on through as Summit getting punished here underneath the turret. Another plate could fall, but no, the minion is going to be dealt with. Gumayusi's going to have to wait for the next round, but I don't know how much more of this Summit can actually take. And he just used his teleport to get down there.
And I think Summit should still be relatively safe, but if he's not getting any help, he can try and clear. Zeus might be targeted here again. Does have flash available.
Yep, Q going to connect there from Yeon as now Zeus realizing that CoreJJ's there. He's going to flash out of the way. Oh my goodness, CoreJJ almost falls, but not quite enough there from Zeus to make him take 2 turret shots. Could have been a disaster. However, no one is going to fall, and Zeus does have to use his flash.
We do have Pyosik making his way over, even with Oner being there. Looks like TL, at the very least, is going to drop the Herald here.
Yep, there is the Glacial Prison. Yeon is going to be able to get out of the way. The arrow is going to sail by majestically, and the Rift Herald is going to slam its way through. Moonlight Vigil comes down, still a lot of damage offered back here by T1, and that will deter TL from coming on through here, but still, plate gold does go over.
Such a good response though by T1 because TL trying to overload the top half of the map, not actually getting the kills. I hope we get some replays because there was a lot of nice work done there by TL, or T1 rather, to dodge all the skill shots, make sure that Zeus stayed alive. But on the flip side of the map, Guma and Keria can just keep going. Keria just went for the offensive ignite just to keep Summit as low as possible. And it does mean that even with the Heralds, gold will be slightly in favor of T1. But thus far, early game has actually gone even, and I do want to highlight, I think T1, the reason why, although we'll talk about it after this, because again, I want to highlight, we don't get to see Zeus sidestepping the Magnet Storm, that was really cool, but here they're able to clear out the wave, and even though the arrow doesn't actually find anyone, Zeus gets the knockback, and Oner then makes sure that he catches the Moonlight Vigil to keep his top laner alive.
Yeah, the knockback right as the kick is coming through as well to deny any sort of follow-up. Really cleanly played there defensively by T1. Not going to be able to net them any kills, only a 500 gold lead here, which is nothing to write home about whatsoever. Although postage pretty easy currently for most of the players on the Rift. Some are just clearing out waves. I do want to see TL keep up the tempo
I agree.
here in this game. And I want to see a little bit more out of APA. Of course, the Syndra, fantastic for just one-shotting carries, things like this. But as the game goes on, the utility that Orianna provides is going to give a little bit more from that mid lane.
It's hard to match. Also looking together how he can sync up with Core. I think that the Crash Down combined with the Scatter the Weak can single-handedly win you a team fight. As Yeon does have red-white.
Yeah, Q going to connect there from Pyosik, but Oner is going to be able to Arctically assault his way out. And now this Dragon is getting some attention. Wards everywhere. Arrow going to connect onto APA. The hostile takeover comes through, and there is the chanting of CC. I don't know what you're supposed to do. In that moment, I think you just have to accept that you're going to die. That's precisely what happens.
Yeah, I think you have to flash the arrow.
Yeah,
that's really the only outplay on that one. APA unfortunately going down. Summit gets himself a snack. First Drake is going to go over to it's setting up for a cloud, which I am loving. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, Earth, Wind, and Fire?
I know.
To
That's
start
your
off the
favorite.
Swiss stage? It's not my birthday.
So,
come on.
Yeah, as we take a look at the Muscat lane economy snapshot, the big benefactor of everything that has happened thus far is Guma, because while Yeon has been dragged around the map, right? They did the lane swap, they get the Herald, they tried some aggressive plays, but didn't quite work out. Guma has just been in bot, fired 2 arrows, that was about it in here, yeah. You have to flash it, otherwise, especially with Oner right there, just gonna get taken down 100%. And that is exactly the type of plays you want to try and avoid. Give T1 as little as possible in this mid game, because come team fight, I don't even think TL's comp is bad at team fighting, but trying to out team fight T1.
Yeah, with the composition that they have, especially on top of everything, they've got so much non-committal CC as well as teamfight utility.
It's a risk.
There's just a little bit too much here. So TL going to be able to look at Shirley here. Going to be able to take her down. Looks like T1 not too interested in fighting for this one, as they have some backtimers to take care of beforehand. So Pyosik going to get his second Rift Herald. And TL should be able to try and use this to break open one of these lanes. Currently, they haven't taken any turrets just yet. The bot lane outer has fallen, so first brick goes to T1, contributing to their gold advantage they do have to the tune of about 1,000. Arrow going to fly through, hits Keria, hits Oner, and almost hits APA. This time he's going to flash it.
That's very unfortunate, because even though he stays alive in this instance, they might try to go for a play on Zeus here.
Wait, yeah, there's the Scatter the Weak onto Zeus, taking a lot of damage. The Unleashed Power comes through, and Pyosik's going to take away the kill. Just barely. Not enough there, so requiring the Sonic Wave, but really nicely done here right after he had to burn the flash.
He was necessary, okay?
Absolutely.
Pyosik was essential to that play. Really nicely done by APA, able to get the best out of a bad situation. Zeus going down a 3rd time now. And means that TL still remaining close in gold. And because top lane turret was already low from the continuous pressure that was applied there by TL, they're able to get the top side turret. Might be looking towards play on FLICKR. Pyosik does have his ult.
Yeah, there is the Warthog flash. Scatter the Weak not going to be able to get the stun there, though, as Pyosik is going to be the target here. FLICKR wanting some revenge, gets the flash out of him in trade for the shockwave, as now Zeus is looking to put in some support as well. Not going to be able to catch up. TL with 3-man strong here in the mid lane against the 3 of T. Oh! The flash forward from Zeus is going to be scattered. APA doesn't have a flash of his own, though, as the shockwave was looking to grab Pyosik, but they'll get the free kill on the Syndra. APA not able to make his way out.
And particularly on such a long lane, between the speed up from FLICKR plus the speed up from Jayce, as Cole goes in.
Storm. That is going to be the hostile takeover, though. It's Gumayusi's just raining hell down on CoreJJ. He's going to be the first one to fall, but Summit does get the all out onto Keria. Not going to be able to bail himself out of this one. Bit too expensive, but the Q3 is going to connect, and now Gumayusi's in trouble. The arrow's going to connect onto Yeon, but it was Summit that was the problem. And TL will answer back beautifully in mid.
And TL, not scared of what's happening in topside, immediately pulled the trigger in mid. You saw Guma there as well. I think a second of hesitation, like, oh, can I maybe help Keria? Can we try and chew through this Cassante? The answer would have been no, but that moment of hesitation, Summit is able to completely capitalize on. And initially, it's a bit of a question. Do you have enough damage with just the Cassante there? But fortunately, even with Keria able to stall out the play a little bit, Summit able to make his way over, get on top of Keria. The bailout not going to be enough to save him. And actually predicting, right? Gumayusi trying to dodge the Q free, coming up huge. Well done there, and it means that still 18 minutes in, gold looking even.
Now CoreJJ will find Oner. Going to get a shattering strike off as Pyosik looking for FLICKR underneath the turret. Is going to get kicked into the wall as APA will just unleash the power. and is going to reign supreme as far as the Orb Lady is concerned in this game. Summit be able to get himself into this mid lane once again, but that one is not long for the world, especially with this large minion wave. Summit's just gonna have to watch it fall down. Oner just provide some support as well, and the map, something that TL hasn't necessarily paid as much attention to as the handshake does come through. That's gonna be a miss on the Glacial Prison though. And so Summit's gonna survive, but the inner turret is not.
Yeah, T1 is really playing with reckless abandon. Like, we haven't seen this since spring. They're just giving up people left and right just to try and get these objectives. Oner might be in a tough spot.
Yeah, there's the scat of the week, but TL not wanting to bite it off more than they can chew, especially with Yeon not quite there yet.
Dragon will be big, and T1 is set up around this objective. Not the best weapons here for Yeon. See if he can get, but there's no Faker, right? No TP available.
Yeah, that's going to be Pyosik locking that one down. It is going to be a Cloud Soul this game as well, so I guess it is my birthday. I don't need any more of those, though. I'm getting old.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. Earth, Wind, and Fire, everyone. Let's groove tonight as Gumayusi going to be clearing out this mid-wave. Let's have a look at the replay once again. There's quite a few things to get through.
And the big thing here is that, as we wanted to see from TL, they are continuously going for plays. And you see here the power. Like, what do you do as Faker? Particularly if you don't have flash or any backup. You can't outplay that. The moment that Pyosik lands the kick, APA guarantees the scatter, and the damage is always going to be enough, Merc treads or no. And it's the kills where TL really has been able to get the better of T1. Now, both these teams have a habit when it comes to Barons.
Yeah.
And
very recently, it's been far more TL that have been going for those. In their playoffs, they were reminding us of some T1 of old. Just, it's hit 20 minutes, Barons on the map. Let's go there.
Why
and
not?
Let's try and kill it. It hasn't necessarily been T1's MO towards the end of this year, though. But of course, they've had a fair few struggles there, so maybe some of the confidence played into that. T1 now going to have the opportunity to look over there, and they can at least clear out some vision. So as it stands, I want to pull us back a little bit, Chronicler.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on.
Chat said 90-10 on the desk.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Current game state, where are you putting it now?
Knowing the two teams, I don't know, like 70-30?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Look at us. It's like we've busted together before, and we know a bit about each other.
TL thus far, really been able to keep it together. Now, what I'm worried about is the burst from, I think, the top half of the map. Summit, Pyosik, and APA right now is enough to take down anyone on T1. But once we get into the actual team fights, the fact that Yeon is really far behind, I think might actually end up becoming a problem. It depends on whether or not TL can get access to Gumayusi, whether they can deny Keria a big ultimate, make sure that Guma doesn't get bailed out by the Renata, because I do think that when you look at the damage, T1 definitely has so much burst available to them. But then also on top of that, you have the sustained damage of an Ashe, who even with the deaths that Guma has sustained, picked up, I don't know how many plates it was, but
a lot.
It's a lot.
And that's a 50 CS gap basically for Gumayusi as well. And so he's just happy Ashe. Died a couple of times, but it doesn't really matter because the bank coffers are still full. Faker with control of this Baron area, going to make his way towards the jungle. It is extraordinarily empty at this point in time. Oner finds Summit. And Summit just going to go back towards this bottom side of the map and try and clear up these minion waves. CoreJJ finds Faker once again. Shattering Strike going to come through, but he's going to be pulled back by the Shockwave. The Dissonance comes in. There's the Magnus Storm as Faker is pulled forward. Can he find the Clockwork Wind-Up? He doesn't need it because he's got Command Attack, and that is going to be the kill going over. Keria gets an assist as well and managed to get the shield down, but I'm going to almost give it a solo kill as Yeon going to have to get out of the way of that one once again. Glacial Prison in trade for the cleanse.
And T1 not pulling the trigger, so it's just going to be a kill. Not the end of the world for TL, but if you do this a few minutes later, if maybe more members of T1 are in the area, I don't think you're going to get away with just a kill in that situation. And this is where you see Faker went for Ludens as well as Void Staff. So even against one of the tankier members of TL, you just shred for him in seconds. Faker actually investing in his flash here, otherwise the arrow might have been enough. If Guma can get that as, the teleport here.
Yeah, now Faker, as you just mentioned, does not have his flash available. The Dissonance doing a fair bit of work there because of the damage. Build as Scatter of the Week is not going to quite find the man in the mid lane. Pyosik going to get slowed down, but he connects the Q, and I have a feeling that even not going to be able to make his way out of this one. He's had some daring escapes before, but without Flash, Orianna doesn't exactly have too many methods. And now, the TL Baron that we were just talking about, they're going to consider it here. The rest of T1 are in the area. FLICKR has teleport. There's 30 seconds on TL to make this play, and if they can lock this down, it could be a huge advantage for them. They need to keep Oner out of this pit, though, as APA, he's going down low. CoreJJ looking for his opportunity. Can he play bounce so they get him out of the pit? And it's going to be Pyosik that locks down the Baron. Can they win the fight, though, is the question. The hostile takeover gets the kill, utilizing Yeon to kill APA. It's a disaster for TL, and Zeus, he knows it. He's flashing over walls. Yeon's going to be able to pick up one, though, with these chakrams. I have a feeling that that might be all he's going to be able to get, but let's see what he can do here. Uses the last of his mana on the moonshot. And yeah, he's in an alcove, and I don't know whether he's getting out unless it's via the death chamber. So there it is. Going to be the kill lockdown by Zeus.
FLICKR TP to bot.
Oh yeah, he knew that one was done.
Pyosik and TL are able, I think they actually played that really well. The initial setup around the objective is amazing as, this is so Pyosik.
Oh, is
the
he
teleport.
the last Baron? Is he
I don't know if they win
Baron?
this.
Okay, let's see what can happen here as Pyosik's trying to safeguard his way out. Summit is here, but it's a little bit late as Pyosik, he cannot contribute to this, but it is a K'Sante in melee range, but Gumayusi is just so dangerous. The volleys are connecting, and Summit's going to be okay, so is T1, and I guess nothing really happens.
This is the type of game I want to kick off Swiss stage.
Absolutely.
A lot is going on, and it starts off, if you're a T1 fan, you've seen this one before, but this time around, there is no cross-map play. There is no grand plan. FLICKR just dies. And I really like the proactive use of teleport here from Team Liquid to then set up the Baron. The downside is there is still 4 people for T1, and a lot of resources have to be invested to take out Oner. The poke from Ashe and Jayce is so pivotal. I actually would have loved it if TL here just go all in on the engage, right?
Summit's
because
all out was absolutely fantastic
it was,
there to get rid of Oner.
Because the follow-up engage from T1 is a disaster for Liquid, right? And if they also had gotten the Baron, it would have been a complete wash. But instead, I think TL, the fact that they are able to hold on to one of their Baron buffs is nice, but I don't think, it's a minus 600 Baron power play. The Rebel Baron power play has seen better days.
Yeah, it's somewhat. It's not exactly the greatest debut of the Rebel Baron power play for the Swiss stage. However, we'll see what can happen here as Pyosik still has the buff for another 40-odd seconds. Scat of the week, not going to find Oner there. Proving himself strong, I guess. And Summit going to clear out this mid lane. Still Outer in the mid lane, up and available here. TL going to have to try and break that one open. The map really has been their worst enemy as T1 have really opened it up for themselves. And I think that's starting to provide a bit of a problem here for the North American representatives.
And for TL, not getting anything out of this Baron is unfortunate. It goes both ways, right?
Hey, they take it off the map.
That is true. And that against T1 in particular, I think that is valid. At the same time, though, the standing gold can be a blessing and a curse. If you ever do get a decisive teamfight win, you immediately can balloon up to pretty ridiculous amounts, particularly if you would have had the Baron buff still on anyone that wasn't Pyosik. But at the same time, it also means the map control and safety that T1 still has because of that mid lane turret makes it really hard, because I do think TL, every fight should start with a pick-off. Maybe on FLICKR.
Yeah.
Pyosik deep in enemy territory.
Going for it there as the kick does come through. Of course, Sonic Wave is going to connect as well. CoreJJ looks for the opportunity, but the hostile takeover is there. Keria always takes care of his Pyosik. He even goes golden, going to be able to avoid the arrow with that. The rest of TL gets into position. This is 2022 World Pyosik. Like, this is incredible.
He's doing it!
He's doing it again, Chronicle.
No, it's just an inner.
I mean, and it's also just one play.
Yeah.
But, like, we like to get excited about these sorts of plays.
We should.
Exactly.
Man, we've been deprived the pleasure of casting Pyosik for a full year. You know what? I'm gonna enjoy it.
Same.
Hey,
are you going to enjoy it, Chad?
This is intense.
Yeah.
I just have to say, I think TL has a small chance of winning this one, but it's small.
I don't want to
destruct
How are you feeling?
We upgraded to 70-30. Where are you going?
So my heartbeat is currently at 125 BPM, according to my
I think
watch.
mine's 140.
And that's probably lower than what some of these TL guys are at right now. Pyosik is playing out of his mind. He actually feels pretty calm to me. So this is the problem with Team Liquid, though. And I hope they've been able to overcome it in the last 2 months. They've had so many early games where they were ahead or behind in gold. And this feels like a classic NA versus Korea game where they feel like they're getting all these kills. But no matter what, they are behind in gold. They get Baron, they're still behind in gold. But I will say, that does give you that slimmer of hope. And I had to express my excitement.
Oh, yeah, you're sticking around, right?
If you want me to, I don't want to lose
absolutely. No. This isn't we're going to hear from Jat standing by. This is now it's a tricast. So welcome. And we'll see
for the Jatless reunion.
I feel like
it was 2019 the last time.
You've been doing an amazing job, but look at this. This is rare that after 25 minutes, TL gains gold on T1.
Yeah. The goal difference, overtime powered by AWS, letting us know that, yeah, T1's macro is still pretty good.
I'm going to be looking as well towards the death cap finishes. Both FLICKR and APA are getting really, really close. And at that point, if anyone gets caught by anything, be it a stray out from Oner, be it Pyosik going insanely deep as he has been doing throughout the entirety of this game, and you're going to get blown up in seconds. And we'll see whether the AD carries are able to really make their mark on this game.
And I really do have to wonder about Yeon at the moment. He's been on the back foot this entire game. I feel like they banned the Caitlyn really early on in the draft phase because they were scared of the laning phase, but then they had to go with the team fight pick for CoreJJ because I don't think they felt like they'd be able to win this game with Core on something like Lulu against Ashe Renata where they might lose the lane anyway. So he's down 60 CS, he's been on the back foot the whole game, and he has to worry about Shock Blast and Orianna Shockwave. So it's such a difficult game for him, but the fact that he has 2 summoner spells up right now before this next Dragon or Baron fight would be the window where he has to execute in a team fight to give TL an advantage.
I want to reiterate again, the best of ones in Swiss are so important because it seeds you for the rest of the bracket, right? A win here today means that you're only a single win away from making it towards those best of threes, the ability to win.
And right now, TL is looking to peel. They're hoping to get the teleport and then peel. They do not want to flip this.
Keria is just going to get caught out of position. CoreJJ is there, and that is going to be the pickoff to start this one. Even the Rift Skull is going to stay with the kick on the faker from Pyosik. It does not stop from this man today. And Oner down to 50%. Of course, Summit's got the Q3, and it's a double for APA, and that's going to be a Baron for TL.
Pyosik is legitimately the defending world champion, getting 2 kills for TL. No jungler for T1. That's the second Baron of the game.
2 for 2 for Liquid.
I'm giving it at least 50-50 now, boys. 100%. That is going to be the secure of the Baron. And I have a feeling this Rebel Baron power play is going to be a bit bigger than the last one.
And Pyosik in the quote says, we're going to have fun. You know, when it's not looking good.
It looks pretty fun if you're not an LCK fan.
He's having a great time.
I will say, one of the Achilles heels of Team Liquid during the regular season was their execution of Baron power play.
Get out of here,
I have to watch this. I have to keep hope low. That's how we got here in the first place. But right here, CoreJJ never showed. T1 did approach because they didn't have perfect vision on the Baron. They get the first kill. And Pyosik on the TP was godlike.
Man. And he's got the GA ready. So he's able to get that resurrection through as well. And so Oner just going to be caught out. T1, once the cards start falling down, this composition can fall apart. And TL, as you can see, understandably losing their minds.
And they know what this means. Look, with this new format, this one win, as Chronicler is mentioning, is way more important than one win in the 6-game group stage because it will actually catapult them in to being one best of one away from a qualification match. It's actually much more important.
And that's going to remain true for the next 2 best of ones, right? Like, if they do win here.
We know there's always crazy upsets at Worlds, right? Every year, pick'ems are never the way that you'd expect. Never. But to open the Swiss stage, if they can make it happen, will be incredible. Right now, though, Baron power play actually working out okay.
Summit has to be able to escape this.
Trying to get out of the way, but the Glacial Prison is going to connect. The arrow is going to sail wide. He tries to all out his way through. Does still have a bit of a shield, but FLICKR will finish him off now. Still, needed a lot of resources to lock that one down, as Baron is going to be utilized to try and take down this inner turret as well. But T1 going to get themselves into position. The volley is going to tag them. Not going to push into the fog of war is T1. They're trying to just holster their guns a little bit here.
Yeah, Yeon cleansing the slowdown just to ensure that there was no follow-up, that he's able to make his way out. And Pyosik still going, still looking continuously for this backline access.
FLICKR does have no TP, so it technically is a 4v4, which I think is why he's trying to play aggressive, and they don't want to lose this Baron. With Summit being dead for another 20 seconds, he'll join once he has teleport, but that's actually been the issue. Summit led the LCS in isolated deaths, and so many of those did happen in situations like this, where he's pushed up, and the team isn't able to counter the play of T1 sending everybody for Summit, so that completely stops the momentum of this Baron power play, and it's been a problem all year for TL.
That one goes back a few years before that as well. I say as an old Sandbox fan, as you point out, Jet, it's the fact that the rest of the team is backing while he is this far up, and this kind of takes out the pretty decent Baron power play they were setting up. They were about 1,500 up here, maybe could have gotten another inner if they synced it up a little bit better, but now, for all accounts, gold 2K at this point in the game, not going to be the big difference maker.
100% irrelevant. 2 dragons apiece now, as well as TL were at least able to collect themselves their first Cloud Drake of the game, so we're not talking about a soul just yet until this next one is going to be taken down in 2.5 minutes. But the Baron is going to be the conversation at that point in time. TL, we'll see whether it's 3 Barons that they'll require as these shock blasts, man.
They hurt so much. Yeon working on what looks to be a Guardian Angel will allow him to play a little bit more aggressive, but you can see he's just so far behind the curve of Ashe. Chronicler, I'm having a hard time being unbiased with my analysis right now. Who do you think has better scaling? Just champion-wise.
APA just walks out of it.
I'm leaning T1 because I think Orianna right now is the best team fighting mage you can get.
Fair.
But if Pyosik can find an angle, like I think it's pretty close. I'm leaning T1, but I do think that Ashe has a much harder time with having a high impact in fights than Aphelios. A single blue ultimate with crits combined with like an auto or two can basically single-handedly win a team fight. And I think for Guma, he actually needs to have the space. Did go with damage build, which I'm very happy about, because otherwise I think T1, they don't have the scaling as Pyosik.
He might need to just try and kick Zeus away from this one. Doesn't have to use his flash though, as Keria was looking to make his way in. Shock Blast not going to connect quite as well. And continue on, gentlemen.
Yeah, I do think it's close, because what I see a little bit of is just the fact that T1 doesn't have a true front line. It's just one Sejuani who's starving gold, makes them very squishy. So if APA can land any stun, there's a chance he one-shots, and they actually have a much better front line with Summon and Core if they play the fights correctly.
And I think as well, that's why Keria also going for Radiant Virtue here on the Renata, trying to build the most tankiness.
Scat of the week trying to come forward here. Summit just by himself, finds himself, and Q the Magnus Storm under 3 is gigantic, and Summit's going all out. He's going to get out of the fight as well with Gumayusi. He's taken down Yeon already. And CoreJJ, both of them are going to go golden, and it's T1 that just roll over the top of TL, and even Summit will not be allowed to escape as Gumayusi looking to chase after him. He's got the ward in the brush, and I have a feeling Summit, by going the wrong direction, is probably still going to die.
After a 35-minute nail-biter with 2 Barons going over to TL, T1, well, they don't get the clean ace because Summit stays alive, but
they were winning until they weren't. Chronicler, and that is going to be the Nexus turrets falling down. Our observers following the story of Summit, but it's the Nexus that needs to be addressed, and T1 are going to take the first game of Swiss. We're going to need a ladder for you, Jad, by the way, to get back up to the analyst desk, I think.
That's a great way to start Worlds.
Yeah,
it actually is. It was an amazing game. TL played their hearts out. T1 clutched up when they needed to in that final team fight. And you guys did a great job. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming, Jad. We needed you.
Glad you were here. And if you thought that after the World's Finals, the nightmares of T1 players were going to be haunted by Pyosik, I know they won, but I guarantee you,
I think it's perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect, because this is actually kind of what we were thinking. We thought, like, we knew, like, Summit's always just a god of the early game. Teams that he's in are always just really good at the early game. It's how TL have been so good in the victories that they found. They were successful yet again, but T1, all they need is one team fight. They've done it from behind, more gold than that.
Yeah, go back to MSI, right? The wins that they were able to get against JDG were in situations like this where it looks like they might actually be on the back foot. I do want to, again though, particularly for APA, it's his first game.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
Stage, right? The aggressive use of teleport in particular, and the fact that Liquid was playing their own game is something that, even though it wasn't enough to get the win, I really want to highlight, because I think that even more so than losing, one of the big issues that people have had for North America is just that the teams don't look like themselves. They might not have won here, but TL, they gave it the best shot.
Or like this is an incredible way to start the Swiss stage. I hope you guys absolutely loved it. We did as well. But it's time to go to a break. Afterwards, we'll preview the featured matchup presented by Mercedes. Ben, C9's Blabber versus Mad Lions Elyoya. Don't go anywhere.
In the latest installment of EMEA versus NA, Elyoya and Blabber will meet in the jungle in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. In their grind for glory, both junglers have seen the highs and lows of competition.
Where is your team? He's at 200 HP! That is the worst Scuttles take I have ever seen in my life!
At 16.5 minutes, the Nexus turrets are being destroyed!
Now, they will be looking to lead their team to victory with the whole world watching. Any EMEA versus NA matchup has the gravitas of a world finals for the Western crowds. And with the pride of the region on the line, Elyoya and Blabber cannot afford to lose.
A team against a king. Seeing against believing. A moment against a moment for the ages. Countless battles, one arena, the realm. The only thing capable of powering the game, the stage, the broadcast, and the worldwide spectacle we know and love, aka the Cisco Network.